This is not only the first smartphone to release in 2021, but the world's first mass-produced smartphone to incorporate Qualcomm's first 5nm process node technology-driven chipset, the Snapdragon 888. And it does so at a very good price. Price is at the top right-hand corner. This is indeed the Chinese variant of the phone. The global launch is just around the corner. Hopefully, we get a silicon case in the box and the device, and that is pretty much it. No charger, no cable, no nothing, even worse than the iPhone 12 series. But we do get given a free gallium nitride charger, and it is 55 watts, which is indeed the capability of the smartphone itself. It is capped at 55 watt wire charging and 50 watt wireless. We get a Type A to Type C port in this little box over here, as well as the block itself, which is significantly smaller. More details on that at the top right hand corner of the screen. And now it's time to unwrap this belated Christmas gift. I have the white color version over here. You also get it in black or blue, or you can get it in purple or khaki, which is indeed an eco leather, and it is the same price, surprisingly enough. The white finish at the back looks fantastic if you ask me. It has kind of a grayish tinge to it. Really makes it pop. It's very eye-catchy, and it is littered with specs. We're talking 4600 milliamp hour battery, 55 watt fast wire charging, 50 watt fast wireless charging, 10 watt reverse wireless charging. We do have Gorilla Glass Victus on the front, much like we saw in the Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra last year. Yes, I say last year, it is 2021, get with the times, guys. And it's not much of a fingerprint magnet. We do have an aluminum frame wrapping around the glass at the back and the front, which is neat, and we get that wonderful silicon case in the box, but you can always splurge for the nice material case. I have the blue denim one. It is 99 yuan here in China, which works out to about $15. Super cheap for such a high quality case, though it's taking a chapter out of Samsung's book here when it comes to the volume rocker and power button on this case. It's nice, soft and cushy on the inside, and it makes the device really pop. There are multiple colors for this, so go ahead and get yourself one if you do land up purchasing a Mi 11. We have the power button on the right hand side, as well as the volume rocker. It looks very similar to the S20 Ultra. We have an IR blast at the top and Harman Kardon audio at the top speaker and the bottom speaker for dual audio. We'll get to that later. We also have a Type C port at the bottom, unfortunately 2.0 transfer speeds, and we have no micro SDXC slots available here, but we do get dual SIM. The camera module looks a bit strange. It's kind of like a step ladder, pretty much 3 tiers over there. And comparing it to the Mi 10 Ultra, Note 20 Ultra, Mate 40 Pro, and iPhone 12 Pro Max, I guess it doesn't look too bad. And when it comes to wobble on a flat surface, it's not terrible. I think the Samsung still is crowned king for that one. When you look at the designs at the back, it actually looks very simplistic compared to devices of last year. And it is quite light at 196 grams and very thin at 8.1 millimeters. The thinnest phone here, though, is the iPhone 12 Pro Max. That back does look stunning, but the glory here is that front. The display is 20 by 9. That is the aspect ratio. It is 6.81 inches, and it is indeed a dot display. We have WQHD Plus here for the first time in a Xiaomi flagship, 1440p resolution, 515 ppi. It is an AMOLED with 1 billion colors, and we get nits of up to 1500, which is absolutely incredible. We do have 120 Hz refresh rate panel here and 480 Hz touch response rate. The colors are vivid and extremely popping compared to its competitors over here. And I must just add, it is quite a lot cheaper than even the cheapest phone on the table here, which is, strangely, the Mi 10 Ultra. Looking at the white balance, its white is actually probably the whitest I've ever seen on a device. And as you can see, that 1500 nits peak brightness is actually quite a bit brighter than even the Samsung all the way on the right hand side with 1342. Though the corners of the phone look a tad strange. I kind of just want to pull them off like they're just an interrupted ear on the device. It looks a bit strange corner to corner over here, and you can definitely see it at different angles. I'm not quite sure how I feel about this, but I'm sure it will grow on me. We do have curves at the top and the bottom of the display as well, and these side curves are actually not that bad. They're pretty subtle, much like we saw on previous Samsung devices in 2020. Though the top corners, it just doesn't look very symmetrical to the build, and it's really rounded in each corner. I'm not quite sure. Maybe it will grow on me. We'll have to see. Like I said, we do have WQHD Plus over here, and it says 120 Hz is the medium refresh rate. Maybe we'll get an increased one with a software update, not quite sure, but the Asus ROG Phone 3 could unlock 160 Hz, so I wouldn't be surprised. We have 60 Hz on the iPhone 12 Pro Max all the way on the left, 90 Hz on the Mate 40 Pro. The rest of them are all rocking 120 Hz, that being the Mi 11, Mi 10 Ultra, and Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra. You do indeed feel a massive difference compared to the iPhone 60 Hz with the 120 Hz Mi 11, though I think 90 would have been okay. It is a little bit of an extra oomph, but it works for me. It's pretty great. We also have a couple different options when it comes to the display, such as changing so many different color options in terms of hue and saturation, contrast, so on and so forth. And we do have different things such as super resolution, AI image enhancer, AI HDR, and MEMC, which actually increases the frame rate of videos that are on the low end. We can also hide our notch, but we cannot bring it down completely like we've seen with previous Xiaomi devices. We also have dark mode. I really like the little transition over there, and it does work with third-party apps quite well, and of course first-party apps, no problems over here. We have an always-on display, of course, because this is a Super AMOLED panel, and you can customize it a little bit. You can add your own picture, so on and so forth. And we also have the cool ones that we've seen on Xiaomi devices of yesteryear. We also have the kaleidoscope one, which looks pretty great, though you cannot customize it like you do see in Oppo's Color OS. But we do have Goodix's ultra thin, they say, in-display fingerprint sensor, and it can actually measure your heart rate. It's pretty similar to my Samsung Galaxy Watch Active 2, and the actual fingerprint sensor itself, because it's so thin, it actually does a pretty great job, even with Gorilla Glass Victus on top. Compared to all other devices over here, it's pretty much neck and neck with all of them. And we do have face unlock here, though it is unsecure since it's using the selfie camera. It is pretty much on par with the Mi 10 Ultra, if maybe even a little bit better, maybe a little bit quicker, definitely noticeably quicker than the Note 20 Ultra over here, and pretty much on par with the Huawei Mate 40 Pro, though I could say maybe it swings both ways sometimes. The iPhone 12 Pro Max sometimes is a little bit quicker with the unlock icon, but you still have to swipe up to get into the phone, though that selfie cam is used for more than just unlocking with your face. We do have a 20 megapixel f2.2 selfie snapper. It looks nice, clear, and crisp when taking a selfie, and the bokeh effect looks great, though I do notice some edge detection.
Yo, what's up guys, this is TechNick recording a 1080p 60 FPS video using the selfie cam on the Xiaomi Mi 11. Yes, you heard right, 1080p and 60 frames per second maxed using the selfie cam, which is absolutely fantastic. Fortunately no 4K for the selfie cam, though it still looks phenomenal. Let me know what you guys think of the audio and video quality when using the selfie cam recording on the Xiaomi Mi 11. And of course we also have a bokeh video effect when using the selfie cam on the Mi 11, though it is capped at 720p and 30 frames per second. I still think it looks pretty great. I don't see too much edge detection over here. Let me know what you guys think once again in the comment section down below.
At the back we have the same 108 megapixel Samsung HMX sensor that we saw on the Xiaomi Mi 10 and Mi 10 Pro with an aperture of f1.85 this time around. We have a 13 megapixel ultra wide camera and a tele macro camera, which is sitting at 5 megapixels. The 13 megapixel ultra wide snapper takes a very great shot with excellent dynamic range. Same can be said with the 108 megapixel sensor. 27 megapixel bin looks even better with more detail due to that super pixel. We have 2 times digital zoom on the 27 megapixel as well as 108, but it's maxed out at 108 with 2 times digital zoom, where the 27 megapixel bin shot can go all the way up to 30x zoom, which doesn't look half bad for digital zoom shots. When it comes to that telemacro camera, it actually does a fantastic job close up, though if you get too close, I must say it doesn't look as good as even 2 megapixel snappers that I've seen around in the macro front. And when it comes to taking a picture with the portrait mode, sometimes I feel like when you're close enough to your subject, you don't even have to use the portrait mode, and it looks even better just with a natural bokeh effect, though I do think that the telemacro camera does help aid with some slight better depth effect. We have 1080p at 60 frames per second with optical image stabilization. When it comes to video recording, things are nice and smooth. Lots of detail over here, especially when we switch over to 4K at 60 FPS, which is great. Unfortunately, 8K, there is no 60 FPS option yet, though we do have 30 FPS, but the 30 FPS option is actually an upscaled 6K. The good thing though is that unlike the Mi 10 and Mi 10 Pro before it, we also have a 24 FPS mode over here, which is actually raw 8K footage, which is great though not very stable. I would suggest dropping this into a tripod and it should make for a fantastic deal of detail. We have 1080p 60 FPS ultra wide as well as 30 FPS recording at 4K ultra wide. This is the max frames per second we get when it comes to recording with the ultra wide camera. and 4K. When it comes to focusing, it actually does a great job, much better than Samsung did last year. And 1080p 30 FPS with steady video off is a bit shaky. Turn it on and it's a lot better, though you lose a hell of a lot of detail. We also have a steady video pro option, and this seems to jump into the ultra wide camera. It looks a little bit better than the previous version, but not really that great. We have a evening pick over here with night mode on. Things get brighter but loses a bit of detail. And for the first time on a Xiaomi phone, we actually have night mode video. We have it off on the left, on the right. You lose a lot of detail, but you gain a lot of light and color as opposed to the other one. I think it's doing a great job for its first iteration of it. We do also have MIUI 12.0.12. Unfortunately, no MIUI 12.5. Fortunately for us, it is running on Android 11, unlike previous Xiaomi devices that haven't got that update yet. Hopefully we'll get the MIUI 12.5 update when we get the global launch of the phone, probably in a month or two. The software feels pretty much like MIUI 12 did running on Android 10. All the little options and customization modes that you have within the previous Xiaomi devices that you've come to know and love are all here, including those wonderful super wallpapers. Nothing new here. Hopefully that will get improved with the future software update. We can of course change the way that our recent apps are displayed to us. I do like the Xiaomi take on it, so I'm going to leave it at that. And of course we can lock apps and we can close apps, and we can also jump into a floating window easily at the top when we're in our recents tab, and we can also do some split screen, which is great after we decide to go ahead and close this floating window. Going into split screen, things are, as you would expect, very good multitasking when it comes to MIUI 12 over here, 888, no pun intended over there, and the haptics are absolutely brilliant, right up there with the best of the best. They definitely got that right this time around. Harman Kardon audio, let's go ahead and give this a listen. I'm super excited to compare it to other flagship devices, that being the Note 20 Ultra and iPhone 12 Pro Max. Before we get into gaming fully, it's worth going into game space over here, actually known as Game Turbo. And we have a couple options over here, such as performance mode, and we can also tweak our games individually, such as changing their response rates as well as your palm interference. And it does a great job of screen overlay, though you cannot keep it permanently on. You can see an FPS count at the top. You can also jump into different floating windows, which is awesome. So if you want to chat to a friend while gaming, that's great, but you can't keep these things on the screen all the time. Real Racing 3 doesn't have a frames per second cap, but unfortunately the Xiaomi device is capping it at 60. Previous devices hit the max refresh rate of the actual phone, and we have 120 Hz over here, so we should be getting 120. PUBG Mobile has a 90 FPS cap when it is set to smooth, but that option is missing at the current moment. This will probably be included in a future software update of PUBG Mobile to support the latest Qualcomm Snapdragon 888 process chipset run on 5nm technology. We are running UHD here. That is why it is sitting at 40 frames per second. It just looks absolutely stunning. I wanted to show you guys here real quick before we jump into HDR graphics and extreme FPS. Extreme FPS puts us up to 60 FPS. Once again, like I said earlier, there is no 90 FPS option at the current moment, but I'm sure this will be included in a future software update. We do have 480 Hz touch response rate. That's why this phone feels so darn smooth when gaming. I usually go into Bullet Force over here, which also has no the frames per second cap, but unfortunately the Xiaomi Mi 11 just keeps crashing it. I tried multiple different things. I must have spent 5 hours getting this to work, as well as Dead Trigger 2. They just didn't seem to work at all. No fear, we have benchmarks here, starting with AnTuTu. Here is the battery percentage as well as their degrees in Celsius at the start of the test. We'll compare this at the end of the test. I'm going to speed through this real quick. I'll get into an in-depth one in the coming weeks, so stay tuned for that one actually really soon. Compared to the Mi 10 Ultra, it is worse in respect to the percentage drop as well as the milliamp hour per minute reading. When it comes to battery heat, we added 11 degrees in Celsius, with the Mi 10 Ultra only added 4.5. It also added 14 degrees in Celsius to the CPU. When it comes to the score, we were just shy of that 700,000 barrier. It is definitely better than the 5nm chip within the Kirin 9000 Huawei Mate 40 Pro and iPhone 12 Pro Max's A14 Bionic, but the Mi 10 Ultra wasn't that far off. Now it's time for Geekbench 5.2.5, which crashed every single time we reached 100%, so I couldn't get a concrete score. Though online I did find some scores that Xiaomi actually posted, and it got a single core score of 1135 and multi-core of 3818. A new addition to the benchmark test that we'll be doing in reviews from now going forward is 3D Mark Wildlife, where we got a score of 5629 and an average FPS of 33.7, which is just shy of the iPhone 12 Pro Max and Huawei Mate 40 Pro, also rocking 5nm chips. The Xiaomi Mi 11 is kind of like a buggy video game that you just can't get enough of due to how much darn fun it is, and rest easy knowing a future patch will fix the issues. This should be the case with the imminent global launch of the device, as well as the upcoming MIUI 12.5 software updates. It may not be the pro version of this flagship, but it certainly feels like one, with that wonderful WQHD plus panel, 120Hz refresh rate, and 480Hz touch sampling rates. The curves are nice and subtle, but I'm not too sure on those top curves as well as those side ears, well, the corner ears I must add, but like I said, it is nice, fluid and smooth on your home screen and pretty much everywhere else. Gaming is a breeze, but unfortunately this will have to be patched to increase the frame rate when gaming with games that have the option for high FPS. There are other phones out there, such as its older brother, the Mi 10 Ultra, which is a tad more expensive and lacks a couple of the features such as QHD, the Samsung, which cannot do QHD and a high refresh rate at the same time, the Huawei, which is dumbed down when it comes to the refresh rate and it has very waterfall-like curves, and the iPhone flat panel 60Hz. That leaves us with the Xiaomi Mi 11, an absolutely fantastic phone for its price range. I can definitely recommend it. All I could suggest is to just hang in there for the global launch and even possibly see what the Xiaomi Mi 11 Pro has to offer.